Hi everyone, welcome to the conclusions of the test drive of the Polestar 3, which was requested by most of you guys in Europe. This was because you guys wanted me to do a video on something that you guys could relate to. And the Polestar 3 was a pleasure to drive. I can understand why there was a lot of clamor for it, but there were a few things that didn't go according to plan. So today we're just going to go through the pros and cons, and then at the end of it we'll do a recommendation or not, depending on what we find. So I'll start with the pros. So the Polestar 3, the pros of the Polestar 3, it's got a lot of things going for it. It's Scandinavian, which means you've got that Scandinavian design language in there, very minimalistic, very trendy, and well thought out on some aspects. The design language is beautiful. It's sleek. It looks elegant. It speaks volumes about who you are as a person, so to speak. Simple things that they've done that make it look pretty good. You've got wings for the aerodynamics on the front, wings for the aerodynamics on the back as well, and the aesthetics of the car very pleasing on the eye. The other thing I've found to be really good about the car is that the car feels like it's a TARDIS. It's much bigger on the inside than it looks on the outside, for those of you who are Houvians. But the reality of it is you get into the car and you feel like this car is comfortable. The seats, for example, the front seats are very luxurious. They feel very comfy. The bolsters on the sides hug you. The seat belt is very comfortable. All those things that make you look at the car and you feel like this is not a bad thing to look at. The 14.6 infotainment system is also a good size, which means when you're going through stuff in the car, you feel like you've got access to it. But that is also a drawback, but I'll come back to that when I'm discussing the cons. The acceleration of this car is phenomenal. The car we test drove was the performance model, and the performance model has got 111 kilowatts battery in it, and it's got 380 kilowatts electric motors, so 190 on the front, 190 on the back. Again, well thought out about making sure the car is well balanced and the movement of the car is impressive. The car is capable in sports mode of doing 0 to 100 in about 4.6 seconds, which is phenomenal. For the size of it, for the battery, for everything, the car weighs about 2,200 kilograms or 2,400, depending on the spec that you get. And again, it drives so well. Going into corners in this car was a pleasure. The adaptive cruise control, the smart driving system on the car is also pretty good. It moves very well. It changes lanes very easily without any stress. I really found the car to be a pleasure to drive. The battery size also means that you've got a decent range. You're getting somewhere between 510 to about 600 kilometers, depending on the trim you get. And again, you don't have to panic about range when you're in this car. It feels that comfortable. The electric motors, like I said, pretty good as well. Gives you instant torque. You're getting over 700 Newton meters of torque in this car. This car is phenomenal to drive. The DC fast charging on the car is awesome. It does 250 kilowatts DC fast charging, which means you can get 10 to 80% in about 24 minutes, which is again really impressive for what this car does. The design element of the car, very minimalistic, like I said earlier on, are also pretty awesome. However, if we start looking at the cons, the minimalistic essence of the car has gone a little bit too far, like the Tesla Model Y Highlander, the refresh model that came out this year. So things that really got me upset: you've got this nice looking steering wheel, you've got buttons in there that you've got no tags for you to know what the buttons are there for. So you have to play hit and miss until you get what it's supposed to do. The buttons have no haptic feedback, so you don't know if you've actually done what you wanted to do with the buttons as well. You cannot change the mirrors easily on the infotainment system, you've got to use a combination of the buttons and the infotainment system to adjust your mirrors, which is a nightmare. It wasn't comfortable to do that. And if, heaven forbid, you're trying to park the car or you've had to adjust your seats for any reason, therefore you need to adjust your mirrors, you cannot do that. So you've taken it a bit too far. The infotainment system is so easy to smudge. You saw different parts of the video in which you could see thumbprints there, that it's almost as if it was leaving information for people to come back and find out who's touched the infotainment system. The smudges are unbelievable to the point in which you can barely see the screen, especially in bright daylight. It was not well thought out. The infotainment system is based off of Android and is very buggy. They've tried to put an overlay on the system, which is, the system is very similar to the one that was in the Volvo, but it is pretty awful. Everything has to be done from the infotainment system, which is not particularly a pleasure to get on top of or to do. The other thing in there is you've got this nice big steering, and there's no buttons on the steering wheel to change the music or to increase the volume. You've got to reach down to switch a knob in order to increase the volume, which I found to be clumsy. So there are specific things that this car could have done better that it didn't do. But the worst thing, the absolute worst thing about this is the price. Does this car drive well? Yes. Does it corner well? Yes. Does it accelerate well? Yes. Does it look sleek and minimalistic? Yes. Does the design language look good? Yes. Do you enjoy driving this car? Yes. The smart driving features, the ADAS systems, are they good? Yes. But are they what the price tag on this car? No. The performance model starts off at $132,000, but you will want to spec it up because they've designed it that you will need to spec it up. And in specking it up, the one we drove was $177,000 before on-road costs. You add on-road costs to it, you're looking at almost 180, 185,000, closer to 190. So the question is, if you're not a Polestar fanboy, is this car worth it? My answer, in all honesty, is no. And I will tell you why. You can buy 4 Leapmotor C10s for the price of this car. And some of you are going to come back and tell me, well, the Leapmotor C10 is not a performance car. You're right. So let's talk performance. Tesla Model Y performance cars goes for 100,000 to 110,000. So for this car, you'd buy 1 Tesla Model performance and you'd get 1 Tesla Model long range, all-wheel drive long range. So for those two, for the price of this Polestar, you'd get 2 Tesla Model Y's higher spec cars. You're not a Tesla Model Y fan. Let's look for something else. For the price of this, you get 2 EX40s. They go in Australia. They go for about $90,000. 2. For the price of this, you get 2 Zeekr X's, which go for $72,000-ish, depending on which state, Australian dollars. And at that, it means 142. You've still got about $40,000 or $45,000 to play with. You get a Leapmotor C10. So you get 2 Zeekr X's and a C10. Not good enough? Right. You get a Zeekr X. You get a Xpeng G6 long range as well. So Zeekr X is 72, Xpeng G6 long range is 65. So that's about 137. You've still got about $50,000 to play with. $50,000 will still get you at least another car. So my point is this car worth 3-4 cars? The answer is no. So the Polestar have not got this right. They definitely have not. So there are performance models that are available to you that you can look at and you can spec up and will do all the things that the Polestar can do. The Model 3 performance goes for about 80-odd thousand in Australia, $80-odd thousand. Why would I want this car? The Sea Lion 7 coming to Australia, performance model is going to come in about $75,000 or $70,000. The answer is no.